Thanks everyone for tuning into the Cloud Native FM podcast. You are listening to the host Sai, co-founder of Cloud Native Islamabad community and organizer of the very first KCD Pakistan happening in Islamabad next this month. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, regardless of where you are and watching us from, or listening to me, or listening to the recording. Very warm welcome to the show. A show which brings the latest and greatest news from the CNCF ecosystem to help you keep up to speed with what's going on, where you need to be focused on more, and where you meet the brave mind and the awesome community member, co founder of the most watched open source project of 2023. Today's agenda: streamline your cloud resources management, and cost. Are you tired of juggling multiple cloud providers and struggling to keep track of your resources and cost? Look no further than Komiser, an open source cloud agnostic resource manager that makes managing your cloud assets a breeze. In this episode, we chat with Mohammad Laborde, CTO and co founder of Tailwarden, about the open source project Cloud Agnostic Resource Manager, Komiser. Komiser integrate with multiple cloud providers, including AWS, OCI, Linode, DigitalOcean, Kubernetes, and Civo, creating a cloud asset inventory and enabling cost breakdown at the resource level. So the conversation covers the story of Komiser, optimization strategies for cloud cost, the importance of having cloud asset inventory, connecting Komiser to multiple Civo accounts, and more. Welcome to the show, Muhammad Lapurde. Today is first time I'm meeting you here. Can you please give us a quick intro about yourself?
Sure. Thanks for the intro and thanks for having me. I'm pretty excited to be on the show. So I'm Mohammed. I'm 29. I have started my career as a software engineer before switching to DevOps later on. Fast forward, I have started a company in the HR space and done Y Combinator, raised $2 million. Now I'm launching Tailwarden, which uses Komiser as one of its core products. The idea of Komiser, as you describe it, is to allow developers to have more transparency on what they use on the cloud so that they can optimize their costs or improve the security posture or help them build a better infrastructure. Along the way, I have written 4 books about cloud native applications, serverless architecture, DevOps practices, and also I run a DevOps newsletter which has over 140,000 subscribers.
Great to hear all this what you actually shared with us. So before further delay, let's before starting in the commission and other things, let's talk about share with us your journey of being into the world of open source, and especially things you like most about the open source.
So maybe I can go a little bit like in the past and how I got started to the open source world. So as I said, like I'm originally from Morocco, so I got my bachelor degree on computer science there. Then I moved it to France, where I got my master degree in software engineering. Then moved it to Paris, where I started my software engineer career. I worked at a company on the cloud space where they created private connection to connect like on-premise infrastructure to cloud providers using private connectivity services. It was my first-hand experience on cloud providers, and also my first real experience with DevOps practices, which made me like show interest for DevOps. So I switched role and become a DevOps engineer afterward. And then like I joined Fox Intelligence, which is a dev tech company, which provide like data insights based on like online transactions. I was the head of DevOps. I built the infrastructure from scratch on both AWS and GCP. We're spending thousands of dollars a day on AWS alone. And that was like the main purpose why I started Komiser, because we had this pain internally, which is like we had too many resources that were created on multiple regions, multiple cloud providers, multiple accounts, and it was really hard for us to keep track on those resources. And so this is what we call infrastructure fragmentation, which can open doors to multiple issues like money being wasted on the cloud, like you have security threats, you have compliance issues. So started this open source project in the beginning for us to have more insights and also to not waste time on going from a cloud provider console to another and switching from a region to another. As you know, like most of cloud providers console are not that very intuitive, so we want like to save time for us and also for developers. So that's how the idea of Komiser started, and that's how like we created the project as an open source. But before that, I was already contributing to open source projects. I think like contributing to open source project was the most rewarding experience for me. It opened to me like a lot of like growth, like opportunities. Now I'm the second time founder of a company, and also it made me also like write about books and also all the newsletter, and that thanks to contribution to open source. Like I started in the beginning just by doing side projects, like about things that I was facing as issues or things that I was facing on at the jobs where I worked at, and like to write blog posts about them, and like in the long run, like that's like created a lot of like personal brand awareness about myself and got me where I am today. So I highly encourage everyone to start, and I think Komiser can be also one of the projects where like people can contribute to, and this is something we can discuss of course along the way on how people can contribute to the project and how they can get started on the open source.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. That's a great story you're telling to my audience today as well. But because I want to hear your story. What was the background story and problem had that caused you to want to solve in the project we now known as a commissar? And I hope I'm pronouncing the name correctly. And who has given this name? And first,
Yeah.
what actually this means?
So basically, the idea of Komiser was, as I said, to give transparency. Like we have been using a cloud infrastructure or multi-cloud on both AWS and GCP. We're spending a lot of money, and we had a bunch of resources on multiple regions, multiple cloud accounts. So it was tough for us, even though we had resources internally. We had DevOps engineers, we have developers, etc. But we used automation tools, we used monitoring tools, etc. But still, like it was very hard, like to have like a complete picture of all the resources we use, like their dependencies, their attributes, and also the different configuration changes. As you know, like today it's really easy to create cloud resources, to create servers, to create load balancers, because now you have automation tools like Terraform, CloudFormation, and also you have CI/CD pipelines. So it's very easy to create resources, but at the same time, it's very easy to have resources that are unknown or unused, which, like as I said, results in multiple issues. So that was the main like purpose of why we created the project. Like we named it the project Komiser because Komiser is a Turkish name. It just made like an inspector, because that's basically what the project does. It just connects to your infrastructure and inspects and fetches all your cloud resources. So there is like, that's basically why we named it the project Komiser. I don't have any Turkish background, just like I found like that the most like interested name I could give to the project. So I tried like to look for the name in Latin, but I found like the Turkish version makes more sense. So I went with the project, and that's how it was named Komiser.
Wonderful. So I call it commissar is a Turkish name, and it's a call of inspector. And you
Yeah,
briefly,
yeah.
yes, and I think during the demo you see why we call it the inspector as well. But before jumping into the demo, please let me know like what are the major challenges in the cloud cost domain that you still see needed a lot of research and development, and what your expectation of innovation in this space for near future.
Yeah, for sure. Like I think the main issue that that people are still facing, and especially developers, is that like the cloud complexity. Like today, that with cloud providers, they offer you a wide range of options and services. Just to give you an example, last year AWS, like they launched 100 of products and new features. So like just to have the full visibility of all the services and all the options and tools that you could use, it's quite impossible today. And also like there is today a lot of hype around Kubernetes serverless, so it makes it very hard for like for developers to pick the right solution, the right tools. And as a result of that, like you have a lot of waste that goes on when it comes to the money that is spent on the cloud, and also you have security vulnerabilities and performance issues. Like, and for me, we think like the best way to address this problem is starting first by giving back the control to developers. How we are going to do that is by allowing them to have the full transparency on what they use on the cloud. And that's basically like the main purpose of Komiser, is that when you connect Komiser to your infrastructure, it helps you build your cloud asset inventory, which basically it gives you all the resources that you have on all the different cloud infrastructures. And then it allows you to have a breakdown of your costs, and also shows you where you need to improve your security posture, and if you have any over provisioned resources that maybe you need to downgrade, or maybe you need like to change their pricing model, or maybe like you need to move to another cloud provider. Like today, it's very easy to go multi-cloud. Like there are a lot of options. There is, for instance, Civil, which we'll be covering on the demo. So as we say, you shouldn't put all your eggs on one basket. There are many choices. But the thing is that today, developers, with all those options that they exist today in the market, they have a tough time to have the transparency. And that's what we want to do, because we believe that the future of DevOps is transparent and collaborative. And we want to do that starting with Komiser to empower developers to take control of their infrastructure.
Yes, absolutely. All you said is like super important for the developer. And it's now your turn. Like if you want to share your screen and give us some demos, and particularly I would interested in understanding, because this is the first day. I think Kumis is a very relatively new open source tool. So that's I think very less people know about it. So I definitely want to see some guide like how you can install, what are the different various way that you can spun up Commissar in your machine, and what you see when you're installing Commissar in your machine. So it's your turn. Share your screen and start telling us some ideas, because I see some of the wonderful blog on the Tailwarden website regarding to installing, configuring, or all these kind of things.
Yeah, sure. All right. All right. Can you see my screen?
Yes, I can see it.
Okay, so here we are at the Komiser GitHub repository. So as I said, it's open source project. Anyone can install the project locally or on their infrastructure, or also contribute to the project. So we have a public roadmap, so anyone can know what we are working on, and they can also influence our roadmap, because as I said, we are building a platform for the 99% of developers. So we want their voices to be heard and to influence the product. So you can install Komiser pretty easily. So here we have some installation guide. So basically you can go to the official documentation of Komiser, and you can pick your binary based on your operating system. So once you have the binary, you need to configure Komiser. You can also run Komiser as a Docker image if you want. So we have also a Docker image that you can run either on your local machine or on a Kubernetes cluster. You have already shared the link to our blog post, which describes the different methods to install Komiser. So I want to go cover that on detail, but we can share the link on the YouTube description. And if anyone have any questions, feel free to join us on Discord, and we'll be happy to show you around. So once you have Komiser installed, to be able for Komiser to fetch those resources and to build your cloud asset inventory, you need to connect your cloud accounts. So to do that, you need to create a configuration file, which is basically a TOML file. So on this configuration file, you can define which cloud providers or which cloud accounts you want Komiser to connect to. So as you can see here on this example, we can connect Komiser to multiple cloud accounts and even to multiple cloud providers. So here on this example, I'm trying to connect Komiser to an AWS Sandbox account and a staging AWS account. And also I can connect it to a different cloud provider like GCP or Civil. So currently Komiser supports multiple cloud providers. We support Amazon Web Services, we support Civil, DigitalOcean, Kubernetes also as a container management system, and we support OCI, Linode, and other cloud providers. So feel free to go to the documentation, and also feel free to add your own cloud provider if it's not supported. So I have already installed Komiser locally to save some time, and also I have already configured the config.toml file. So once this is done, then I can access Komiser through the dashboard. So basically here I have access to the Komiser dashboard. So this is what you see when you connect Komiser to your cloud accounts. So here I have the inventory, which is basically all the assets which represent the cloud resources that I have on my cloud infrastructure. And then I can go through these cloud resources and I can like identify which resources are the most expensive, which resources belong to each team, to each application, so that I can take some action that will allow me to like reduce the cost or improve the security or improve the performance. So let me show you some examples. So here as you can see, I have 590 resources that are coming from different cloud providers. So let me, for instance, show you the different cloud providers that I have connected for this demo. So here, as you can see, I have connected different cloud providers. So I have resources coming from AWS, from Civil, from Linode, and also from my Kubernetes clusters. Let's see first the resources that I have on Civil. So if I use the filter sets, I can see the different resources and I can also see the cost breakdown at the resource level. So here, for instance, I have a front-end application that is running on a compute instance, and this is the region and also the name of the account. So you can connect multiple Civil accounts. So here I'm connecting a demo Civil account and a production Civil account, and I can see also the real cost of each resource, which is really useful for developers and also for DevOps engineers, because they can bring accountability to the cloud span, so that now each team and each individual, they can create their own dashboard to monitor the cost and the resources they are using, either on Sandbox, production, or whatever cloud provider they use at the organization. So with those filters, I can create, as I said, dashboards. So let me show you another example on how I can use the filters. So here I'm on Civil. So let's say I want to see which resources that are the most expensive. So I can use the cost filter, and then I can use the greater than operator. So let's say I want to see the resources that costing me more than $10. So here I have two resources that are costing me more than $10. So those resources are resources that maybe I should keep an eye on. As you can see, I have resources that are running on demo accounts. So maybe I want to make sure that those resources doesn't like pass a certain threshold. I can also use tags, which are really a good way to start tracking the resources and also to start setting up accountability within the team and creating a cost-conscious culture within an organization. So for instance, here I can use like the tags by using the bulk operation to tag those resources. For instance, those resources belong to the SRE team. And now once I have created those tags, I can like use it to create my view, which is basically a dynamic dashboard that will hold those resources that matches those filters and tags. So for instance, here I have Civil expensive resources, and it will create for me my dynamic dashboard that holds all the resources that belongs to Civil and that are greater than $10. And as you can see, this is across different cloud accounts. I can also look for resources that are not tagged, so which is one of the main issues when it comes to cost waste, is having like resources that are not tracked. So a good way to do that again is to use the virtual sets. So here, for instance, I can look for tags or for resources that don't have any tag. So as you can see here, I have 560 resources from 21 regions from different cloud providers that are costing me over $400 that are not tagged. So maybe what I can do is I can again search for resources that are costing or driving the cost. Like let's see resources that are costing me more than $10. So here I have 10 resources that are not tagged. So maybe what I can do is create another view to hold untagged resources so that I can tag them, or go to the cloud provider console so that I can either make sure if they are still used or like downgrade their size depending on the service type. So for instance, let's say for this AWS Lambda service, it's costing me $64. So what I can do is I can open the dashboard for that particular resource directly from Komiser. So with Komiser, I have everything about my cloud infrastructure that comes from different cloud providers in one place. And from that, I can tag my resources, I can see their costs, and also take actions. For instance, here I went to the cloud provider console and directly to the resource dashboard so that I can verify if this resources is still used or this resources should be deleted or downgraded. So this is like few examples of what you can do with Komiser to empower your team. Like you can also like create tags and make sure that your developers and DevOps engineers use those tags so that you can create like their own dashboards. So for instance, I can search like for resources that were created by the front end team. As you can see here, I have three resources. So I have a storybook and I have a CDN, which is used by the front end team. Then maybe I can save this one as a front end team view so that the front end team now can see their cost and also how like the impact that they are having on the financial aspect of the company, and also see the resources that they are having or they are using so that they can make the impact on the company, like cost and also cloud usage, and also like be more accountable on the cloud spend. So yeah, so that's basically like few use cases that you can do currently with Komiser.
Yes, that's a wonderful. I think for the custom dashboard boards and tagging is really helpful because some team working on the different team sections and they want to see like in the, let's say, team A we're spending $10 and the team B we're spending $20, but the same application. Why my application is actually costing me more money and this in the different team or setup. Now the question. This is the day one, like day zero. You install the commissar, run it locally, you give it the credential and everything being stored in the commissar repository and is installed via Kubernetes. I think you can install in a Kubernetes cluster the via these, you have CLI, all these kind of things available. So day
Yeah.
zero, the developer join in and go to the install it locally and configure via toml file and AWS different condition, the AWS, Azure, GCP, wherever those are, and these will be listed, and it gives you the chunk of visibility, like where you are spending on which resources and which cloud. That's a great thing for the developer because they really want something to be open source. They can use it on the daily basis. That's great news. But for the day two, when developer is using their application, and let's say they're exceeding from $10 to $20, is there a way in Commissar today or in the plan in the future? So let's say if you go beyond to $10 to $20, it's give you the alerting mechanism or give you the email or give you the Slack notification. Now you're jumping ahead. Please look at it and fix those.
Yeah, so this is not something we have currently on terms of feature wise, but that's something we are working on next. So like in the upcoming weeks, like developers will be able like to set up budget alerts on like on the custom views so that they are always alerted like on the budget that they have set up. And also like they can even like trigger some actions like to be notified by Slack or like trigger PagerDuty or trigger a script that will delete the resources on Sandbox or whatever they want. So that's something we are going to do like in the near future to make like developers able like to take actions directly based on the data that they have.
Yes, thanks. And also, I think this is a younger project, is not being so old, and is a good community coming up in the Slack Discord channel. Definitely encourage everyone to go to the Discord channel and ask question about it. But definitely, I think there's a use cases when for the day two operations for the developer teams, you give us a Slack notification. But sometime I think teams need to go down to the drill down the resources, like they go to the virtual machine and see the application is running on top of that virtual machine, and they want to know like which virtual machine is easier to cheaper for me to spun up if this one is actually giving me so much money. So I think all those use cases can be implemented. But I definitely opinion, like what's the current roadmap is look like for the next few months.
Yeah, for sure. Like just to circle back to what you said, like that's definitely something we're working on. Like we recently added the support of Kubernetes. So in addition to having transparency on the infrastructure level, you can also have the transparency at the application level. So you can see not only like your VMs or your servers or your EKS cluster, for instance, if you are running on AWS, but you can also see what is running on the VMs themselves. Like you can see that the pod, the services, and you can allocate the cost for them and create tags. So in one single dashboard, you can see at the same time like your applications, but also the resources that those applications are using, and you can use the filters and the views and the tags mechanism as showed on the demo, like to create your own dashboard. In terms of what is coming next, in terms of the roadmap, so as I said, we are going to like release more integrations so that people will be able like to plug their own like alerting system or alerter handler like Slack or email so that they can receive notifications when a certain budget or a certain threshold is hit. Also, we are going to cover more cloud providers. As you know, there are many cloud providers, and we want to make the project cloud agnostic. So we want like to cover the long tail of cloud native apps and cloud native providers. So for now, we support the big players, the AWS, GCP, and also other providers like Civo, DigitalOcean, Linode, and others. But we are going to add, like in the upcoming days, the support of Azure and others. And again, for the rest of the community, feel free to contribute and add your own cloud provider if it's not on the roadmap. We are also going to add like make the dashboards more customizable because each team, each application, they have their own specificity. So we want that the dashboard to be at the same time cloud agnostic, but at the same time like flexible so that the teams can create their own dashboard and they can have their own cost breakdown analysis based on the filters by using queries and stuff like that. So that's what we are working on in the upcoming days.
Yes, that's really cool feature because I think in terms of what today's has is actually missing and developer needed it. Like developer need a one dashboard to see AWS, Azure, GCP, Linode, OCI, Civo, Kubernetes, anything in one dash. I think this is definitely the need for the developer. And thanks to the Tailwarden team and the open source project Komiser, they actually they actually solve this need. Like you have a one dashboard, you have a custom dashboard, you have a tagging filter, these all available in the cloud, but you don't have a dashboard. And all different cloud has different tagging mechanism, different dashboards, different credentials. But now look at the unified dashboard. It's very easier to understand where you are spending more and where things can be aligned based on the budgeting and the cost. That's great things. So I think you're moving along in a good direction. But one thing I really want to see in the future, like you have a CLI or something that you can integrate with a CI/CD pipeline, and then Komiser can integrate those pipeline and tell you like this is the pipeline is costing you a lot of money, go fix that up. These are the big features, but these are the small things that developer really needed it. But I definitely need, want your opinion on this as well.
Yeah, for sure. Like we are going like to expand integrations. Probably that's not something we are going to build from scratch because there are other open source projects that they are doing that well. Like for instance, to give you an example of infra costs when it comes to giving an estimate of your like Terraform changes based on your pull requests. So that's something probably we are going to like to integrate to Komiser to cover like Terraform also, which is one of like the main automation tool today that developers use to create resources. So we want to make sure that developers, when they use this kind of tool, they have the proper tags so that anything they create on the cloud is tracked. Because again, if you don't have your full picture of what you use on the cloud, you cannot optimize your costs, you cannot improve the security, you cannot do anything. And for me, like when it comes to reducing the cloud complexity or bringing more like transparency to developers, it starts by having a cloud asset inventory. So we want like to expand with the rest of the ecosystem, especially with open source projects, so that we can aggregate as much as possible with different applications and tools that developers use to cover the long tail of cloud native applications and tools.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. And before we winding up the discussion, so please let us know some of the ways Uh, please let us know some of the ways people can contribute to this project, and what is the strategy going forward. We see a foundation. There is a different foundation in the Linux Foundation umbrella. There's Sandbox. There is a CNCF, Continuous Delivery Foundation, and different foundation already has. One question I was to ask about the CLI option for the Komiser. Kumar Anurag is chatting on the comment. Can you answer this? I think there's a CLI for the Komiser is
Yeah, yeah,
coming.
I think that's what you have like asked, and I think we have covered that. So that's something we are today like with Komiser, like we have all this CLI, but we are going to expand to its features so that it integrates with the rest of the integrations and tools developers use.
Yes, absolutely. So moving on to the conversation, like we having like there's an open source tool. There's some foundation in the Linux Foundation umbrella, Continuous Delivery Foundation, CNCF. So do we see in future you choose the route where everybody is choosing the route of going to the CNCF, making it a sandbox project, going to the KubeCon, tell people about this project, what are the things it's solving for you, and what are the how community get involved. So are these is a part of the roadmap currently?
Yeah, that's something we're thinking about. Like, and I think what makes more sense for Komiser, I think it's mostly like FinOps Foundation because it's a tool that allows developers to optimize their costs. And I think like the main pillar of FinOps Foundation is like to bring accountability when it comes to cloud spend. And I think Komiser does that today. So that's something we are trying to like to be part of. In terms of the community, we want everyone to be welcome to contribute to the project. As I said, we have a Discord community where we help developers and also DevOps engineers to get started. We have also AWS and GCP experts on the room that shares their insights. Because as I said, this is not something that can be solved with a closed model. It should be open source. If you want to like make the cloud easier and like demystify and democratize the cloud for developers, we should make the tool accessible for everyone. And that's why we need the help from anyone. So it can be by improving documentation, by influencing the roadmap, by contributing to the project, by trying the issues. Anything people can give us a hand on that, that would be awesome and be more than happy to help them get started. We have already created a lot of resources online about how to get started with Komiser. But overall, if anyone has any question or is interested to learn more about the project, they can join us on Discord and we can help them out get started.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Absolutely. And I think they're going forward because if I look at the GitHub star, I think it's uh, it's it's matching the requirement of the CNCF sandbox project. So I think it's a very good to go because it's required 300 star. I believe it's above that, and it's going to going. It's already has a community on the Discord channel. So I definitely see this project as being visible more to the community because this is a need of the developer. They want to see a universal dashboard where they can see the cloud resources in AWS, Savod, Kubernetes, and all different places. But thank you very much, Mohammed Laborde. You are sharing your insight with us. So let me give us some review of what we have covered so far. So Komiser is a tool that gives you Komiser integrate with multiple cloud provider, including AWS, OCI, Linode, DigitalOcean, Kubernetes, and Civo, and creating a cloud asset inventory and enabling cost breakdown at the resource level. It also has a tagging filter, identifying untagged resources, group resources by teams, bulk tagging resources, and all these kind of capabilities are available. By implementing a tagging strategy that incorporate open source tool like Komiser, organization can significantly enhance productivity, avoid context switch between cloud provider console, and optimize their cloud cost and better manage their deployed cloud resources. Commissars allows you also to control your usage and create visibility across all used services to achieve maximum cost effectiveness and get a deep understanding of how you spend on the AWS, GCP, and Azure. If all that we covered today excite you, please go to the commissar.io website and learn more about it. Go to the installation guide and see how you can install it locally. And if you're interested in contributing to this project, here's a link for you. And I definitely encourage everyone to start contributing to it. If you are running the cloud provider that is not part of the list, please make sure your voice is heard by the community. Plus, there's a link to how to tag cloud resources. It's really helpful for the developer teams to understand. And there's a good thing I today's know and I really like about how you build custom dashboards. It's really difficult and a pain in a lot of the front end UIs, but it's a great team effort by how easily you can create custom dashboard in it. And if you are using the Civo Cloud, the YouTube video and Tailwarden channel, you can see how you can connect multiple Civo account in this YouTube video as well. And here's the company behind the commissary is at tailwarden.com. And if you want to notify it, go to Twitter handle and start following the link as well. And please join the Discord channel where most of the community is here to answer your question, know your thoughts, and build a roadmap according to your need from commissary. So thank you very much, Mohammad Laburde. It's been a pleasure talking to you. Hope to see you again in future as well. Thank you, everyone who listening to this podcast. Stay safe, stay healthy. Have a wonderful day. Bye bye, everyone.
Thanks a lot. It was really fun